Definitely not talking about the ortolan delicacy in France today.
I bet it tastes like chicken.
Oh, gosh.
Gotta make that joke.
Going from like super rare delicacy to the most crude, obvious animal possible. Welcome to the CodeX Cantina, where we talk about our food fantasies.
Ooh, I like omelets. I do love, eggs.
But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about, oh gosh, am I going to even attempt to pronounce it? No.
Do your French. Come on, do it.
I'm going to say the Duc De L'Omelette by Edgar Allan Poe is the subject today. And I'm sure I murdered that. Murdered worse than the poor bird in this or the main character. But this is clearly written at a time where I get to use one of my favorite quotes of all time. And I'm sure you know what it is. But it was written in 1832, where clearly speaking French was super popular in literature.
I want to go to dinner with Duck. What's his name? Is it Duck?
I think it's just, I just say Duke.
Duke? Okay, let's call him Duke. Yeah.
If you didn't know, clearly the upper middle class was kind of expected to know a little bit of French, right? It was the cultural aristocracy was just oozing in with like French influences. And this is part of like the Silver Fork era of novels in the 1830s in terms of like society focused. And you can kind of see, I think Edgar Allan Poe takes this as his tapestry to kind of play with through this story. And my favorite quote is actually from you. As another twist, is we were reading another book and you said, his Russian is great if you love French. If you remember that was when we were doing Demons by Dostoevsky. But it was the exact same effect where it almost becomes obnoxious at some points when writers overuse a certain motif, right? And French was perhaps used a lot to be showing how, this character is so, rich and famous and intelligent. And you have, I think, Poe kind of poking fun of that in the same way that Dostoevsky did in the Demons novel that I quote you from.
Yeah, I love that Poe is poking fun of upper society. And I think that a lot of times people punch down because it's easier, to make fun of those that are, quote, lesser than you or more are unfortunate to not have what you have. And it's almost brave too. I mean, I know maybe that's a little ridiculous to say, but he's punching up and he's making fun of their vanity. He's making fun of their snobbery. And I love that. I'm here for that because I try to think of, we're all equal. We're all the same. And just because you were born in a certain time in a certain place with certain parents, you are afforded these certain luxuries does not make you any better than someone else. And I love that Poe is just pulling them down so we're all on the same playing field.
My first reaction to that too is because you know how sometimes when people use like too much humor, like maybe like us at the beginning of this video as we finally settle into the discussion, it can seem immature. It can cheapen perhaps the intelligence of the conversations. Some people think that way, right? And isn't it interesting that Poe almost undercuts that with something that they wouldn't even care about, like something that was already below them? Like, how can you already make fun of like the humor of it if it's already using humor to do the punching, right? Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's almost like a very safe way to undercut the audience because they already won't provide much gravitas to a story based in humor, of which this was like, I guess there's like a group of like a couple of short stories that he wrote that were humorous for like this like competition, and this was one of them.
Yeah, it's like nowadays with our parody or spoof movies, right? I love those that it doesn't take itself too seriously, or Family Guy or Rick and Morty or any of those kind of cartoons that are a little bit poking fun of the Simpsons and traditional cartoons. It's almost as they go so far, it loops back around to ridiculousness into funny, and I'm here for it. I love it. I think that if you can't laugh at yourself, then that's a bad thing.
All right, so in terms of plot, it's very straightforward. And I do enjoy this because it's a very notorious and fancy Duke, aka the guy that we're going to be kind of cutting into a little bit. But I think Poe does this in a very intelligent way. I shall refer to him as the Duke. Don't know how else to pronounce it because my French is offensive. But he dies one night while indulging in eating an ortolan, a type of bird, and next he finds himself in hell. So, of course, as we were referring to at the opening of this discussion, Gotta talk about food. Gotta talk about the ortolan. And I had to look up a little bit about it because I was like, there's something special about this. And I didn't know this, but like apparently in French cuisine particularly, the bird represents luxury and excess because it was typically like eaten whole as like a delicacy, a rare, and even rite of passage with some pretty insulting ways to do it. But it is clearly a statement piece in the culinary world if you did not know.
Yeah, and I think it's probably one of those dinners, and I know that the first time I went to like a nicer restaurant, not Outback or Applebee's or something for those in the US, where we have very large portions in our country traditionally. If you go to a really nice restaurant, it's all about presentation and having that perfect flavor. You have very small portions. I imagine this is something that's a very small, dainty little bird, and Poe is poking fun of the gluttonous of this, that he eats, I guess, so much maybe. I don't know if he like chokes to death, but he dies of gluttony, which I think is kind of also a little bit of a pun. I enjoy that.
Well, the bird was, if I understood correctly, meant to be eaten whole, like in one bite. It's easy enough to choke on in that situation. It seems like it could be realistic. I don't know. But also, like, when you just think about birds in general, they're very fragile, right? Like, and we've talked about Angelou, Maya, with the caged bird, right, that sings. There's something ephemeral. The nightingale, like like their song or whatever. There's something very sweet and brief about a bird's life, and for it to be freed is meant to be a beautiful thing, typical in literature. Why do I bring that up? Because I think Poe is, well, obviously I think he's creative, but I think he is almost kind of, as he parodies, spoofs, as you said, the upper class, high society, maybe even Gothic literature as a whole, so too does he use this motif of the bird and its fleeting nature, its freedom, gluttonous state, to also show a version of freedom for the Duke. I'm not really sure how to best articulate that, other than like, rather than being a moment of release, of damnation, like in a typical Christian worldview, it's almost like a version of freedom for him to have gone through this randomness and sin of eating the ortolan whole and choking on it.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that, how he's taking this turn in his life of dying from luxury and then going to a place that he didn't expect to go, because I'm sure he assumed that he was going to go to heaven, and then being transported to hell, and then almost have to have this Charlie Daniels standoff. Devil went down to Georgia, and I'm going to outdo the devil and reclaim my soul. It must be freeing to think, well, I have nothing left to lose, so why not try? So I'm gonna try, and then if you win, which Duke does, it's that much sweeter of a victory.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's kind of like, it's also interesting the way it made me think, because hell is supposed to be painful, eternal darkness, right? Torture, depending on your worldview and such. But it's like freeing for him. Right? It's like, hell sounds awful by the people I don't want to hang out with, like if you believe in a sinful life. And all the sinful people that are a lot of fun are down there. So let's go down there and hang out with those people, right? He's like, oh, Raphael painted this? Like this looks amazing. It's decadent. It's aesthetic, right? Like that is part of this life, is living in the presentation to others, living for others as opposed to yourself or your own version of love, if you will. It's a perversion of the Christian ordeals of life. And as a result, hell is a better fit for the Duke in some ways. And it's actually kind of humorous, like you said, like when he first gets down there, he's like, well, I'm gonna walk away, and like it's just the funniest image how he just got like whisked right back in front of the devil, like as like he had no reverence for the position that he was in. Like that's just how much self-absorption the Duke had in himself and in his life, in the physical, the pleasures, that this was normal for him in some ways.
I think Poe, as we've stated, is taking a big swing at aristocracy, that they are so pompous that they think they could go to hell, swindle the devil, and come out better on the other side, that you're able to do that. If not, and that's my takeaway, and if not, it's hard, because what do you think of the religious aspects of this? From certain points of view, it's always stated that, it's easier for, what's the saying? It's easier for a rich man to...
It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think there is Poe is really laying on thick here of like, do you really think your money is that important? Do you really think it's going to save you in the end? How ridiculous it is that a rich guy could die, go to hell, love it, and outplay cards with the devil. It's just asinine.
It's like he's tricking the trickster, right? Like that's part of why we love William Faulkner so much, is because of that wonderful trickster in literature that always pulls a wool over the reader, and you can beat him, right? Like, to me, I like what you said there, but I almost have like a slightly different angle, and I don't think this is what Poe meant by any stretch of the imagination. Trust me as I say this, but I almost took it like, because in today's terms, right, when you look at people that have the money, they tend to be the least happy. Like that statistic about people who win the lottery and end up more broke or more unhappy than before they won the lottery. And even just famous people, right? And divorce rates and such. I think there's commentary here, not intended, but it's there, how the pursuit of the aesthetic and vanity in life can lead one to hell, because seeing the famous painter there, seeing the famous works of art, the decadence, like the people that live for that exuberance in life are the ones that end up in hell, is normally meant to be negative, right? Because like that's the Christian view of life, but to him who fully embraces it, it's freeing, right? And I think that commentary exists, that those that chase the fame, the king, the money, end up in hell, but is that really that bad according to this, which is what I think is kind of like, I don't know, there's something to be said about how Poe loves to use irony and twist your expectations that I think is very enjoyable for most readers.
And this is a unique story too, right? To your point of, this is not the horror. This is a dark comedy, and it is a twist on a damnation story. And I think that anybody could get value out of it. To your point that, my wife's a couples therapist, and she has a lot of very wealthy clients, and they're just as unhappy or miserable as the rest of us. They're just drinking more expensive whiskey than we are.
Well, let me add to this. It's not even just a twist on like what you said. It's an evisceration of the Christian morality, in my view, because does the Duke get punished for all of his sin, for all of his wastefulness, for his trickery and relying on luck to beat the devil as opposed to some skill or moralistic redemptive act? None of that. There is no punishment for all the sin. So it is flipping that ideal on its head, which is what I think is really fascinating about the story too. Like, I don't think Poe was trying to moralize, but I think that's there.
Yeah, I mean, the morals are there. But what morals? Because Duke has fun.
He
seems to enjoy himself.
Of the morals. It's the evisceration of the morals.
Yeah, okay.
They're gone.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that I agree with. Because, yeah, Duke has fun with this. He goes down, he gets to play cards, he gets to, outwit the devil. He died eating great food. I mean, that's one of the two best ways to go, right? So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely, Poe is taking a wrench to that, normal view of morality.
I enjoyed the story. Obviously, I think it's meant for you to think about what those morals mean. Do those morals even really exist if they lead you to the life that you actually want to live? I think it's kind of an interesting little take on it. And even the fame itself, does fame lead one to damnation according to the traditional Christian morals? I think it's a very interesting discussion. And I'm not saying anybody was right. I just think it's a thing to put on the table of like, let's have a different view of this. So let us know what you guys think. If you enjoyed today's conversation and aren't sure what to add, but, you want to help out the ever hungry YouTube algorithm know that you are still here, leaving even just like a fire emoji for the damnation of hell would be extremely helpful to us in the channel. My name has been Una. There's going to be an Edgar Allan Poe playlist down below. Thank you. Peace.
Happy Halloween.